Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Je suis très honoré de contribuer à votre conférence importante au sujet de la transformation. Pardonnez-moi si je continue à parler anglais. I owe my own awareness of the environmental crisis and the need for change to young people. A quarter of a century ago, I marked the new millennium by visiting 16 schools and meeting with hundreds of 16 to 18-year-olds. I wanted to hear about their dreams and dreads of the future, and I wanted to share with them the importance of faith as a source of hope. I asked them on a scale of 0 to 10 how worried they were about the future of the planet. I asked them to put up their hands if they had placed themselves between 5 and 10. To my surprise, in every one of the 16 schools, 100% of all the hands went up. I then asked them, to what extent do you think we should do something about it? On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is don't bother, 10 is do something urgently. When I asked for those who had placed themselves between 5 and 10, 99% of all the hands shot up. This challenged me to rethink my own attitude to the environment. It led to a new understanding of our responsibility for the earth, and also a new understanding of that line in the famous Lord's Prayer, that God's will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. It's a prayer and a hope for the earthing of heaven, for a new and transformed world. I've spent the last 25 years working for a more sustainable planet, including chairing the British government's independent panel on the future of forests and woodlands. There was a popular uprising when the government threatened to sell off the national forests. I was asked to chair an independent commission. We recommended that the forests and the woods should be held in trust for the whole nation because they were good for people, good for nature, and good for the green economy. I wrote in our report, our forests and woodlands are nature's playground for the adventurous, museum for the curious, hospital for the stressed, cathedral for the spiritual, and a livelihood for the entrepreneur. Wood is one of nature's most sustainable resources. When we were doing our research, we visited the Forest of Dean with its ancient oak trees. I made some comment about how wonderful nature was. The local forester challenged me. Bishop, he said, that's not a natural landscape, that's a political landscape. Those trees were planted to build ships for the British Navy. In that rebuke, there was an important truth. Every landscape is political, for what is created and built in every generation reflects the values and priorities of that era. And that's the point and the challenge of your conference. To what extent does your built environment express the urgency of the current crisis and the imperative to take seriously the changing climate and the need for the built environment to be transformed and sustainable? Over the last 30 years, I've also been involved in the regeneration of two great northern cities in England, Hull and Liverpool. Ahead of Liverpool becoming European Capital of Culture, the local newspaper, the Liverpool Echo, set up the Stop the Rot Forum, and they brought together city planners, developers, builders, investors, and local communities. They did this to restore the vast amount of heritage buildings that had fallen into disrepair. This retrofitting was in itself a sustainable solution to the city's future. I also chaired what was called the New Deal programme that was intended by the government to be the community-led regeneration of the city. When it comes to transforming communities, the leadership must involve local people. And these are some of the lessons that I've learned about transforming communities. Just 10 and briefly. 1. Cities often suffer from a disease that I call urban diabetes. It's when the wealth of a city is concentrated on grand projects at its heart, but the blood fails to circulate around the whole body. And it fails to reach the extremities, the outer estates, so that they atrophy and die. The challenge of transformation is to ensure that the valves are open and the wealth reaches and enriches the whole body. 2. The areas of the greatest challenge suffer from what I call consolidated poverty. This is where poor infrastructure, generational unemployment, educational underachievement, bad health indicators, inadequate housing all conspire with an ugly environment that depresses the local neighbourhood. It means that any transformation can be achieved only through a partnership of all the different agencies with local people. 3. The greatest blight to be found in untransformed communities is a combination of low self-esteem and low aspiration. 4. Over the years, I've listened very carefully to the language that people use in the narrative of transforming communities. Those who live in challenging neighbourhoods, and it's often women and mainly mothers who want a better place for their families, they use organic language such as seeds, planting, growing. But those who control the purse strings use not organic language but mechanical language such as levers, buttons, triggers, tools, targets and outcomes. The point is, you cannot prescribe mechanical solutions to organic problems. 5. You cannot transform communities by splashing on them money, consultants, resources from above. It's only by irrigating neighbourhoods with these things that you begin to revive and regenerate them. This work requires genuine partnership between business and communities, between the public and the private sectors. 6. Investors, both public and private, talk too loosely about empowerment without realizing that if you really and truly empower others, then you will have a little less as you share it with them. 7. The issue of power comes into sharper focus when considering the relationship between tenants and landlords. What I've learnt from listening to the Grenfell Tower communities in London is that the most effective landlords are those who commit to their tenants being treated not just as a means of profit, but as full human beings, dignified and free to create their own homes. 8. Entrepreneurs have a responsibility to rehabilitate profit and wealth, because without these things, there is no money to invest in the transformation of communities. 9. All of the above calls for leadership. Let ULI members become the new leaders of tomorrow. The principal quality of an effective leader is to be a learning leader who gives space to others in the team to contribute their own insights. The learning leader secures a following. And if you want to know the sign of an insecure leader, then there is never any laughter in their presence. 10. Transforming communities is first and foremost a matter of justice. For a definition of justice, I turn to a 4th century African Christian philosopher called Lactantius, who said, quote, "The whole point of justice consists precisely in our providing for others through humanity what we provide for our own family through affection." Unquote. Merci beaucoup.